Um,
Yes, go ahead, please.
okay. Good evening, guys. My name is Zakiat Bello. I'm one of the ADMs at with the Elite Group. And this is our presentation for Spring 2. The period is from 19th of February to 3rd of March. So in this sprint, I'm going to talk about our project first. So this project summary the project is to create an internet-based training platform that is designed for mentors to connect with mentees in order to enhance their experiences and schedule while they are at the Blue Sky Group at Blue Sky Citadel. And the project product name is MentorSkid website. Our budget for this project is £439,000. The timeline is 3 months, and the goal is to be able to pair mentors with mentees and enhance their experience, knowledge, and skills. So the status of our project. First, I'll start with our daily tracker. The amount of members, percentage of members that are present this sprint was 77%, and 23 was absent. That's because one of our team members left and another one had issues with her family, so she couldn't attend a lot of our daily stand-ups. Also, our budget from sprint 0, we planned to spend £71,000 for each sprint, and the amount we actually spent for each sprint from sprint 0 till now has been 44,750 for sprint 0, 61,200 for sprint 1, and 61,000 for sprint 2, which means we are still within our budget, and we're not spending as much as we thought, so we still have enough left for the project. As you can see, we've got budget. The actual budget is 439,000 pounds. The amount we spent has been 166,950, and the balance we have left is 272,000 pounds. And last sprint, by the end of last sprint, we had some impediments and we had some issues and risk, and we've been able to close. We had 8, and then during this sprint, one arose, so we're able to close. We were able to close 8 issues, but we still have one left, which we are mitigating at the moment. We've escalated it to the right person, and we hope it gets solved soon. And then our risk, which the issues we currently have left is difficulty accessing our Azure admin account, but we've escalated that and we hope it's fixed soon. And our risk, the risk we have at the moment are limited time for the project delivery, which we are mitigating by making sure that our team members are working as fast as they can to meet the deadline, and technical issue, which we have a backup plan for if that should ever happen. Now, we created a RACI metrics just so that we can, we learned it in class this last week. So we created one, which would allow us to know who to contact, who to consult, who to inform, and who to hold accountable for each project at each stage of our project. I will hand over to the Scrum team now. Scrum Masters.
Good evening. We are the Scrum Masters for Team Elite. I will discuss our achievements. Can you please go to the next slide, Zakia? So our planning achievements were, first of all, to facilitate. Sorry. facilitate sprint planning and ensuring that we could agree on a goal, ensuring that the team capacity was measured and work planned was based on that given capacity. We made sure that we had one sprint refinement, and all in all, we had 10 daily stand-ups. Our sprint planning was that we agreed on a goal to commit 12 stories. We'd agreed upon this after measuring team capacity, estimating each story, and assigning points that were based on story complexities, and also the amount of work which would have been involved. Next slide, please. So our goals for the sprint, we achieved the goals for our sprint. We are actually currently 70% in. We have 3 product backlogs at the moment that are not completed, and an aggregate burn down of 0.1. We resolved impediments. There were a few with Scrum Masters not being able to access admin, and one of our QAs was not able to access Telegram. All those impediments have been resolved. We constantly check the progress on our burn down chart, and 11 PBIs were moved to sprint and are done. Our sprint artifact just show the capacity of the team that was expended during the sprint. Next chart, please. So our impediments during the sprint was that we had occasional difficulties with connecting to Microsoft Teams for scheduled meetings, difficulty of Scrum Masters accessing the admin dashboard, or as I mentioned before. It was also difficult getting all team members present in ceremonies at times. And we faced challenges with the COS and the DAs completing their tasks, which resulted in our team being slowed, our velocity being slowed down. We collaborate. Sorry, am I still on?
No, that's it. It's the business analyst now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I still had. Oh, sorry. I missed. Okay.
Business analyst, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rotimi Kubaiwe, and I will be speaking on behalf of all the BAs. In this sprint, we were able to do our use cage, and of course, the mentorship business process steps. We say one, the potential mentee is to sign up. Once that is done, we go to the next step. We order to identify his or her own specific needs. Then the user selects a mentor's course, and the mentee proceeds to make payments for the selected mentorship course. At that point, the mentee is matched with a mentor and the mentorship commence. So we did a use case diagram, which is right on the left there. Next slide, please. And it is a flow chart, business flow chart. We also graphically show the relationship between the mentee and the mentor. It goes on like that until the mentorship commences. I hope the flow chart is clear enough. The next slide, please. So this is the overview. This is overview of our board. In sprint 2, we had 30 new items. 10 were approved. I'm having the difficulty in seeing this thing really from here. So 10 were approved. 2 are on AIT done, and 1 in AIT, and 3 were completed. The next slide, please. And these are artifacts descriptions to replace the PBIs and WAFE for the login team. All these have been put on the board, as you can clearly see it. Another screenshot, please. The next slide. These are the stories on our board, which we have put there. Thank you very much.
7 minutes to go. 13 minutes gone.
Thank you very much. That is all about BA.
QAs. QAs.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes, we
you.
can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So this is Team Quality Assurance Team. So in this sprint, we have been able to, the first thing we've been able to do as a team was that communication amongst our team members and communication among our team members. But unlike the last sprint, we have been able to have mutual communication between our members. Because during the last sprint, we faced a lot of impediments communicating with them. There are some faced Telegram bans, but in this sprint, we were able to rectify it now, and we have now more mutual communication with each other, which has fostered our duties and able to decide our duties effectively. So, and the second thing was that we were able to compare our test results and give feedbacks to fast track the progress of our work with the Mentor Skill project. And thirdly, to attend the daily stand-up, we have been able to help each other as a team to align our goals and priorities as a team to help us identify and mitigate risk early. And we also provide updates in our progress and also see about our impediments. So, and we participate in sprint planning and sprint refinement, which we discuss goals and expectations for our sprints and meetings. Then lastly, too, we're able to set up our test environment and install automations app, the likes of Java, IntelliJ, and Maven. So please, next slide, please. So these are the screenshots of our work done, writing of our test cases, moving our work from QA to QA done. Please, next slide. Next slide, please. So another screenshot of our works too, the work that are assigned to us, and able to complete it. And we also write queries too, which was we attended to our developers to see the need to work on it. Next slide. So, and when it comes to installation of software, there are these three major software that is important for a tester to have it, to be able to do testing automation of softwares. So the first app was Java, and these are the process how you can install Java on your laptop or PC. Then you have Maven too, then IntelliJ. So these are the process for installation of this software, and this software are meant to test applications to see how they respond, so that the users can be able to use it effectively. Next slide, please. So, and we face impediments too in this team. And one of the impediments we face is that we still have issue with loss of Telegram by one of our team members. And this affected our progress in our work because we were unable to reach her. It lost our Telegram account, and trying to contact her on mail was unavailability. So another issues we have to lack of laptops and computers, which affected our work too, because some of the softwares we are installing, it was not compatible with the system some of our members have. For example, some members have 32-bit systems, and most of the system that we are installing as a tester, they are 64-bit. So these are part of the impediment we face. And last, with another one we faced was mobile network problem. As we all know, the issues is, I think it's general in Nigeria. We always have issues with our mobile network providers, and it has impeded us too in our progress. So, and lastly, too, not all our team members were able to complete the installations. We are still new to these things. The installing of softwares to our systems, there are some things we are need to get acquainted with, the likes of codes and the likes, trying to use our command prompts. So some of our team members are still having difficult to get themselves used to it. Next slide, please. So I think that's all for our QA. Thank you for having us.
Sorry, quickly, what's your name, please?
My name is Thompson.
Thompson. Okay, thank you.
Daniel.
No, sorry, Sultani. Sultani is going.
Yeah, sorry about that. Also, this is the data analyst demo sprint 2, and specifically, I would like to just talk about all the progress that we as DAs have made, and all the impediments that we've tried to overcome. So, firstly, in Tableau, we learned different ways of distributing data through the use of a moving average, which is simply the average over a particular given interval. And then the appeal for this session was mainly to identify comparisons with data. As being a data analyst, it's crucial that you must be able to identify comparisons with data, and it's good to compare in general. And during the Tableau, sorry about that. During the Tableau session, we also learned Gantt bars, which are used to monitor progressions within the business, as this allows for more efficiency within the business, and thus is more crucial to use compared to other means of charts, such as bar charts.
We're going to respond.
You have just 1 minute to go. 1 minute.
And then the SQL query table, we learned different words such as replace, trim, which removes the space characters from the beginning or end of a string, and substrings, which extract characters from strings. So in terms of Power BI, it's simply an app used to transform data and to collect data overall. However, it's quite large, so as an impediment, it could be that it needs a lot of storage. You need a lot of storage to download it, which some older versions of computers may not be able to keep up with. So as with the Azure board, we were tasked to write a story on the progress of Sprint 2 as regards of what we have done. And so the description was
Your
mainly
20 minutes
about
complete
inputting data.
now.
And then for team impediments, there was issues with communication breakdown while preparing for Sprint due to many deleted Telegram accounts, which heavily affected the network and flow of how we communicate. And it meant that many of us couldn't access meetings sometimes. And also there was many mobile network problems on Zoom. Oh, yes, I'm done. Oh, yes, I'm done, sorry.
Hi, please, for the cybersecurity, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Ebele.
1.5 minutes left. Thank you.
Presenting for cybersecurity is Abaraji Ebele. What we have done. We've talked about log collection and compliance, security tools, incident response, and Wireshark. Next slide, please. Log collection is a process of gathering, consolidating, and examining digital records, which are logs, generated by computers, applications, and other devices. These logs enable us to detect abnormalities, investigate incidents, enhance situational awareness, and fulfill compliance requirements. Now, these requirements is required by regulatory bodies and frameworks, such as the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, which requires protection of log containing personal data, Federal Information Security Management Act, which requires security of federal information systems and government data. These logs have types, which include network logs, application logs, security logs, audit logs, amongst others. In order to protect these logs, we make use of some security tools, which could be offensive or defensive. Some of these offensive tools include the Wireshark, which is for network analysis, not intrusion detection. Some other offensive tools are Mmap, which is for network scanning, BobCert, which is a web vulnerability scanner. Others are John the Ripper for password cracking. In a bid to manage these suspicious incidents and respond to them, to their activities, security notifications become necessary. There are types of security notifications. Next slide, please. Types of security notifications. We have the alerts which is triggered based on specific activities. Example of it is getting debited for the use of applications or software. Next slide, please. Warnings for actions to be taken before expiration. Information notification, which is also an important tool for new version of applications. Next slide, please. Creating notifications are necessary. It has its own challenges. Some of the loads, it could be due excessive notifications, leading to alert fatigue. We also have false positives. Too frequent false alarms can be frustrating as well. For maximum utilization of these security notifications, such notifications should be clear, relevant, and be actionable. These incidents are classified according to their types, categories, levels of severity, and levels of threat to the organizations. Now, because I would want to avoid unauthorized access, suspicious traffic patterns, and data exfiltration in my network space, I would need a network protocol analyzer, Wireshark. Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer that allows security professionals to inspect packets for signs of malicious activities in real time. What are its importance? Analyzing packets, IP addresses, malware analysis, identify domain owners using the NS lookup IP addresses. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Eagles. Just a moment.
All right, good evening, everyone. Here is Team Eagles, and this is our Sprint 2 demo presentation. Pardon me, please. of February 2024 and came to an end, and it's coming to an end on the 4th of March 2024. And below we have the list of our role leads for this sprint. Naina, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nena, the PMADM for Eagles team. And for my agenda, we'll review our central activities, we'll look at our progress report, and also assess our raid log. Next slide, please. For the next slide, we'll be looking at the team. Next slide, please. The next slide shows the team activities. Now, for our team activities,
Lena, please go on.
Let's go on. What's causing the delay? Hello, everyone.
Lena,
Hello.
can you go on, please? We can hear you now. Please go.
I said we'll be reviewing our activities for Sprint 2. We'll look at our progress report and assess our raid log. Now for team activities, next slide, please. What we did at the end of Sprint 1 was to assess what went well for us in our retrospective and had an action plan for Sprint 2. So for Sprint 2, we all aligned our goals to ensure that the goals and expectations were clear to everyone and all our tasks were clear to everyone. We also had our brand bag session parole once this sprint. For our daily stand-up, we continue to have it at 7:30, even though we know in real life experience, we'll be having it at 9 in the morning till about 9:15. And also in this sprint, we introduced a weekly project status where the PM met with the SMs at the end of the week to assess what we've done for the week and also plan for the following week. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Sorry, I'm having a problem with my slides. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. I've spoken on this. Now, the next slide shows our project status report. Now, for our project, if we recall, it is to create a dynamic online platform that empowers both mentors and mentees to engage in a meaningful experience, and also where knowledge will be shared and people can earn income. This was supposed to be delivered at the end of 3 months, and our project cost currently is about £328,250 from a total planned budget of about 1.3. Currently there's no risk and the quality is still high, still giving us a project status of green. For the functionality, for the headline for this particular sprint, it's for the functionality and authorization of our landing page. And I can testify that as we speak, this task has been delivered, is completed currently. Next slide, please. Next slide. For the raid log, our risk that we foresaw was the user authentication and authorization and a robust cyber security measure. Now, the impact is if this isn't taken care of, the there might be presence of a system hack, and the owners are the QAs and CS, but this has been put in place such that the firewalls will prevent any hack happening. For the assumptions, because of what we learned from our retrospective at the end of sprint 1, we improved upon it in sprint 2. Information was readily available, and we were able to connect properly with our developers. That's why we have a negligible priority in that case. For the impediments, the only QA in the team needed a tester's account. This slowed down the tasks, and this was escalated, and this has been sorted currently. Also, the PM ADM lost all information and connection on Telegram, and so couldn't connect with the team for meetings, but this has also been sorted. Now, for our dependencies, some staff currently do not have equipment to work with in terms of laptops. This slowed down the project a bit, but what we did to tackle this was to pair them up with people that had equipment so as to deliver on the task. So this also has been sorted. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olusheye, and I'm the lead Scrum Master for this sprint. And this sprint, we're able to update our Agile principles and values, our Agile ceremonies, and we wrote our Scrum report, and we wrote some user stories for some members of our team, and we also drew our team organogram, and the team carried out some brown bag sessions, which helped to improve the learning capacity of members of the team. And right here, we have the Scrum ceremonies every Agile team is expected to participate in. For sprint planning, the team comes together to collaborate, and we discuss the desired high priority for work for the sprint and also define the sprint goal. Likewise, our daily Scrum, which is expected to hold on a regular basis for 15 minutes to discuss and also dissect any issues on ground. And likewise, our sprint review, which helps us to focus on products that are in development and also the increments created during the particular sprint. And likewise, our retrospective, which helps us to get what went right and also what areas we need improvement in. And then right here, we have our Agile principles and values. These values and principles all focus on satisfying customers through early delivery and also continuous delivery of projects. And the Scrum team is expected to work together on a regular basis throughout the sprint to help achieve the sprint goal. Likewise, at regular intervals, the team also reflects on how to become more effective, then fine-tune and also adjust its behavior accordingly. And that is what the sprint refinement is for. Then we have our metrics, which has helped us to measure. Here is our team organogram, which shows the stakeholders, the product owner, the ATM, the Scrum Master, and other members of the development team. And then we have the metrics, where we get to see how we can measure and also develop our process and also measure our work quality and the health of the members of the team, like this bundle chart right here. Thank you. Okay, and then Team Eagles were able to have our sprint review on the 2nd of March on Saturday, and all members, all role leads were able to present their demo within the team. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Temito Poine, and I represent the BAs for this sprint. Here are my team members. Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. As we all know, our project mandate is to develop the MentorScript website. This sprint, we're able to gather more requirements from the PO. We created more user stories and acceptance criteria. We designed and attached wireframes and process flow diagrams to them. We performed user acceptance testing on the PBIs that have been duly tested by the QA team. We had a business analyst workshop. We had a training on use case diagram. We participated in all Scrum ceremonies and general meetings. This sprint, we had more participation from previously inactive team members. We had personal presentations, and we also had several brown bag sessions. Next slide, please. We were able to achieve our goal for sprint 1. And this sprint, our goal is authentication and authorization functionality, which is to verify the user and what they have access to. So we've been able to design the registration, the login page, and including the landing page navigational menu. And we've been able to achieve all this. If you click on them right now, they are clickable, the buttons and the links are clickable. Going forward, next sprint, we are hoping to create a mentor and mentee dashboard, of which right now we have about 4 PBIs in BA done, and 18 PBIs have been approved to be committed to the next sprint. Next slide, please. Here are our artifacts. We have the sign-up page, the user story and acceptance criteria. We have the wireframe and process flow diagram attached to it. And then the login page, we have we were able to capture the successful and unsuccessful login, due to invalid username and password. We have a wireframes and process flow diagrams attached to it. Next slide, please. Yeah, we have this.
10 minutes gone.
Next slide, please. Yeah, we have the start as a mentee. We have all our user stories and acceptance criteria attached. We have the wireframes. We have the registration form. Next slide, please. We have the About Us page. Next slide, please. We have the logo. Next slide. Find a mentor. Next slide, please. Contact us. Yeah, and this is our board structure for this sprint. Next slide, please. Here we have a use case diagram for the MentorSkip website. We are currently working on. Yeah. Next slide, please. Some of our teams have personal impediments like laptop issues. So we're able to come together as a team to help them populate their requirements on the Azure board. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Juliet. I'll be speaking on behalf of the data analyst of the Eagle Squad. Next slide, please. I'd like to take us through our deliverables for Sprint 2. In terms of general deliverables, we were able to attend and participate in all of our Scrum ceremonies, including daily stand-ups and other team meetings. We're also able to have a presence on our Azure DevOps board, where we were able to populate our tasks and monitor the progress as they evolved. We're also able to create a forum using Microsoft Forms to capture the attendance for daily stand-ups, and that allowed us to see the trends of the attendance, and that's the artifact you see on the right there. Next slide, please. In terms of our role-specific deliverables, we focused on 3 environments this sprint: Tableau, Power BI, and SQL. In terms of Tableau, we were able to look at various forms of data visualization. The artifact you see on the right there is showing a sample dashboard of the company's sales activities, and that allowed us to be able to draw out insight and trends using the data. Next slide, please. Still on Tableau, like I mentioned earlier, we looked at various forms of data visualization, including pie chart, bar chart, and also we looked at creating parameters for moving averages, and that's the last graph you see on the right. Next slide, please. With respect to Power BI, during the installation process, we had an initial impediment where we were unable to link an email address to the account. However, with the help of our tutor, that was quickly resolved, and that allowed us to download the database that we needed and proceed with the transformation of the data. Next slide, please. And the proof of that is what you see on the right here, where we're able to proceed with data transformation using various functionalities within the Power BI environment. Next slide, please. Moving on to the SQL. SQL allowed us to use various query functions like the substring, trim, and the length. This allowed us to trim down the data that we wanted to see, so that we were not looking at too high volume of data. We can focus on a particular data set that we were interested in. Next slide, please. And just continuing on the SQL, we use various functions like I mentioned earlier, just to show us artifact of what we mean by trimming our data, and that way we can carry out a more effective analysis of our data. And with respect to impediment, during the sprint, we had challenges contacting our buddies and our mentor, but this is currently being escalated, and we've made some progress in terms of making contact with our buddies and mentors. Thank you for your time. I'll pass you on to Essie for the keyword analysis. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and good evening. I am Ogunyemi Essie and the QA role lead for this sprint. Next slide. These are the activities we, the QAs, were involved in. We attended team meetings, we attended daily stand-ups, attended QA sessions, were involved in sprint planning, we were introduced to automation tools, which are the Java, the IntelliJ, and the Maven, and others that you can see on the screen. Next slide. For this sprint, 10 test cases were written, but due to the time frame, I will only be speaking on 2. This artifact, as you can see on the screen, shows the test case written for the verification of the login button. This login acceptance criterion given was what prompted the writing of 2 test cases, one for the successful login and another for the unsuccessful login. For the successful login, it is displayed on the left-hand side of the screen, and the other is for the unsuccessful login. Moving to the next slide. Here is also a test case artifact written for the verification of the About Us link. Next slide. Due to the fact that our personal Azure board is limited, should I say finite, we were given the testers account permissions, which enables us to create test plans and also run tests. And as seen on the screen, this test plan was created for all of the 10 test cases written for this sprint, and all except one had a pass, which we can say they met the design specifications of the Eagles Team Mentors Kit website. Next slide. Here shows the test runner artifact while executing the test cases, which as you can see that each step of it had a pass. Next slide. A progress report was also run after executing all of the test cases on the test runner, and it reads a 90% pass rate. Next slide. The impediment we had for this sprint are the unavailability of other QA members and the others, as you can see on the screen. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Saidi Adepoji. I'm the cybersecurity team lead for this sprint. Next slide, please. During the course of the sprint, we were introduced to log analysis and collection, incident response, Wireshark, VirusTotal, and the likes. The importance of log analysis cannot be overemphasized. Its importance includes tracking user behavior anomalies to detect malicious intent or compromised systems. Please, next slide. During the course of the sprint, we also we carried out some simulations. These are the screenshots from the simulations. Please, next slide. From the simulations, these are the responses. For example, the first one, firewall log entry, whereby the intruder or the attacker tried to gain access but was unable to gain access to the system because the system had a very effective firewall defense system. This is the next slide. Incident response. Incident response is management. It cannot be overemphasized because every organization tends to prepare against attack, but still, the attackers always devise means of gaining access to the system and the likes. So these are the framework on how to mitigate against attackers. First and first, you have to prepare, dictate analysis, containment, eradication, recovery, and post-incident activities. Please, next slide. These are also screenshots from the simulations we did during the course of the sprint. Next slide, please. These are the responses from the simulations. The incident 3 it was a breach that occurred, whereby the loss of control of compromise of unauthorized disclosure of information by organization. Next slide, please. During the course of the sprint, we also introduced different tools like the Wireshark, and the VirusTotal, and the MS Toolbox. The Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer, which analyzes the IP and to check if there are any malicious link on the website. So which it detects it. And the VirusTotal also checks to also verify if more like for fishy emails to know if the source is genuine or not. Also, the same thing goes with the MS Toolbox. It has some similar. You can also use it to analyze the header of an email to know if it's the source and the receiver is also the same. This is all we did during the course of the sprint. Thank you very much for your time.
The last presentation to this one about the budget. Now, if you look at this is just a snapshot of the team member. We have about 32 team members, but you can see that this is the team number that I've put for the diagram. It's just a snapshot, but I want you to focus very much on the figures underneath there. We can see that since the project started to sprint 2, we have spent 107,000. Our budget is 400,086.64. So we still have money in our pot that we need to spend because we know that in the next sprint and the sprints to come, that's where we'll be. The project will intensify. So we expect to spend more money in the next sprint. Thanks very much, the Scrum Master.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Modupe. I'm the Scrum Master Lead for Team Optimind. For Sprint 2 activities, it started on the 19th February 2024 to the 4th March 2024. Our Scrum activity started with our Scrum ceremony, that's sprint planning, where we decided to pick the product backlog from what our product owner said and commit it into the sprint. Next slide, please. List of members that did their individual. During the week of the sprint, Deji gave us an assignment on we should find 20 bullet points of what our roles entail, 10 tools used in our role, 20 concepts of buzzwords for our team, and our day-to-day activities. These are the list of people that submitted their assignments and also presented for the assignment. Next slide. This is a screenshot of our board so far, all what we have done. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the list of attendance for this sprint of people that turned up. They turned up well for this sprint. Next slide, please. Also, during our sprint review, we started by acknowledging the team's accomplishments and hard work, and there was a demo by the developer on reviewing our MentorSkid website. All our functionalities are already clickable. Next slide, please. Also, we did our retrospective where we talked about where all the team members had the opportunity to talk about what went well, what didn't go well during the sprint, and what we can improve on. After all said and done, we had 3 action plans. That's the CCC, clear communication and planning, collaborating with team members, and coordinating of Scrum ceremony. Thank you. Next slide.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Raman. I'm the one representing the BA for Optimind team. So we can see the outline. We did a BA workshop, use case diagram, sprint refinement, PBI, UTA, and sprint review and retrospective. Please, next slide, please. So during the next slide, please. Okay, during the workshop, it was an inspirational workshop for each and every one of us, in which Bolu boosts the morale of everyone to conquer the fear of unknown, and taking charge of their career and start applying for job that is going to the favor market. Please, next slide. So we talk about the use case diagram, which also we can see from the diagram that it is a behavioral UML diagram type, and it is a user-oriented meaning. That is meaning that it is a visual summarization of the user action and the response of the system. Please go back to the use case, please. Use case diagram. Hello. Okay, thank you. So we can see from the diagram that all the process are action words. You can see view your own page, about or check the important information, and the rest. Most of them are between a user action and the response from the system. So go to the next slide, please. So the next slide is sprint requirements. So this was the period where the team that the BA has to check if the acceptance criteria stories are well detailed, seek approval for the PBI, and set the priority for the next sprint. Next slide, please.
You can go on.
So the next slide is the PBI status. So the PBI status, we can see that this shows the number of user story and acceptance criteria worked for the sprint 2. So please, next slide. So, and the next slide is the UAT period, that is a period where the BA moved the work done by the QA in UAT and test the acceptance criteria of each story, approve the UAT to done, and return the failed UAT for the QA to rework on, so that it will be okay for the end user or the stakeholders. Next slide, please. So, and the next slide is the one we call the sprint review and retrospective. It was a period where different team or stakeholders discussed about what went well, what didn't go well, and the way forward in order to avoid a future conflict. Thank you very much.
10 minutes gone. 10 minutes gone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam.
Abimbola. I'm one of the QA for Team Optimind. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, before testing, we ensure to get our definition of next slide. Before testing, we ensure to get our definition of ready and definition of done. And since these are the criteria that help us to determine when a task is ready to be worked on and when it is considered complete. Next slide, please. And okay, this is a sample of our test deliverables, which include our test plan and our test strategy. They guide our testing activity, ensuring comprehensive coverage and effective validation of any software product we build. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is our board, and where we found some bugs, and some of them are already in UAT done, which means while working. Next slide, please.
Okay, man. Any slide, sorry.
This is a sample of our test case written in Jenkins BDD. Next slide, please. This is a sample of our test case in the classic format to ensure our competence in writing test cases in the two format. Next slide, please. And this is a sample of the test runner and showing that the test has passed. And to my right, this is a sample of a bug we raised, which has been assigned to the developer. Next slide, please. And for impediment, we had late access to the tester account. We underestimated the efforts for this user story, so we have some work left done that we've not finished, and communication issue with the developer. And for our plans for the next sprint, we actually have started building our automation framework using Java, Maven, and IntelliJ. This framework is going to be useful when the developer has finished developing the sign-up page and the sign-in. And we also plan to finish the next sprint work, which make it our priority. Next, the cybersecurity.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I am Babatunde, and I'll be presenting on behalf of the cybersecurity Optimind. Next slide, please. Next slide. So during the course of the sprint, we are able to talk on, can you please go backward? So we're able to check our log analysis and connection, and we were able to know the source of logs, the importance of logs as well, and the essentiality of logs. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have various log formats, and the essential thing that are meant to be on the log. First is the timestamp. It's very essential. The log level, the source, and the message. So we also looked at the feature of log management and SIMS as well, like the overlaps of the two tools. Next slide. So during the sprint, the training has been more of interactive training. So after each training, we were able to look at some scenarios, and these are examples of the scenarios we looked at. And these scenarios shows a log. We are told to analyze the log. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so this is the analysis from the previous log we just looked at. Next slide. Okay, so we also looked at mastering log collection and compliances, then some key regulations and standards. So these are the various key regulations, and we were told, or we were informed of the importance of the regulations and the kind of data they collect. Next slide. Okay, so we are also introduced to incident response. So we are told what incident response is, then types of security notification, then importance of security notifications as well, so timeliness, awareness, guidance, compliance. Next slide, please. All right, so we have incident classification as well, which does the process of systematic identifying and assign categories to cybersecurity incidents to understand the nature and immediate set required for their resolutions. Then we have types of incident as well. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, like I said, that the class has been so interactive since. So during the course of the sprints, we were able to look at some incidents, though we had 4 incidents. So we talked about the 1 and 2 incidents in class. So the 3 and 4 were given to us as a task to work on, and we actually worked on it, and these are the responses from these incidents you can see over here. Next slide, please. Okay, and as well, we are introduced to Wireshark, which is a software used to an interactive software for packet data for a live network, used to monitor traffic to know maybe there is a malicious traffic or not. Next slide, please. And here is a snapshot of a Wireshark, where we are analyzing a network adapter for loop traffic. And you can see the analysis here. These are the traffics passing through the Wireshark as at that point. Thank you very much.
Team Legend, the time start now.
AB. Okay, my name is Biodun. I'm one of the Scrum Master. We're here to present our demo for Sprint 2. And I'm just going to pass it on to the ADM. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adedeji. I'm here to represent the ADM on Team Legend for Sprint 2 demo presentation. Next slide, please. Yeah, to start with, I'm just going to put the demo in perspective. The project we're working on basically is the Mentors Kit project, having to do with the mentors and mentee. And here we have the web development project environment screenshot presented here. Next slide, please. Okay, key achievements in the sprint, just like it was mentioned in the last sprint, we had a little bit of slowdown in the last sprint, but this sprint we were able to commit at least 15 stories, of which all of them have passed through the hand of the developers, and we have 5 of them on which UAT tests have been carried out, and 6 of them are awaiting user acceptance test, and we've got 3 of them which were flagged back with bugs by the QAs back to the developers. Next slide, please. Okay, I apologize for this particular slide because the screenshot was taken long before the new development we had in the last couple of hours, because I must give kudos to our QAs having to work tirelessly over the night to achieve what we achieved at this level. Next slide, please. Okay, impediments we experienced in this sprint, just as the ADM spotted that the Scrum ceremony was going the other way around, which was supposed to be our responsibility to ensure that agile methodologies are follow through, and as such we were able to see a breakdown in communication between the Scrum team and the product owner, of which we called a meeting of the Scrum team and the ADM, where we were able to address that, and we come up with a resolution that the Scrum team, especially the Scrum Masters, are supposed to maintain an end-to-end communication with the product owner, irrespective of what we get from the business analyst. And likewise, we discovered that some of our Scrum members of the team were always unavailable And as such, it's hampered crucial decision making in the Scrum ceremonies. Likewise, we have the QA's slow but steady ability to effectively use the tools required for testing. However, just once again, I must say, the QAs were able to, work overnight, way beyond and outside of their schedules to be able to meet up with some of the requirement for the sprints. Here we have the roadmap and next steps going forward on this project. All PBIs presently awaiting test will be moved into the next sprint, and we have the QAs of course, we employ automation testing to fast track the testing process. The Scrum team will work together to make, sorry, you're flying on my slide. We'll work together to make sure that, thank you very much. We'll work together to make sure the previous impediments experienced don't reoccur in the next sprint. And as well, the Scrum Masters, just as it was mentioned earlier, will maintain an end-to-end communication
taking up a lot
with
of time
to improve the team productivity. Thank you.
Hello, next page. This is AB. This is Scrum Masters, the next page. Thank you very much. This is attendance for Team Legend from February to date. Next page, please. Work done for Sprint 2, the Scrum ceremonies. We had the daily stand-up at 7:30 p.m. from Monday to Friday. We had the sprint planning where we committed 15 stories. And we also had the refinement. We also had a sprint review, which was done. Only 5 stories got to the definition of done. We compiled list for individual demo, which was assignment by DG. Then we created columns for the DA and the cybersecurity. We also worked on impediments that the QAs were having, and we sorted it out. We updated each team's repository and also the list of active and non-active members. Next, this is the project status. Then the project board continue. The project board continue. Yeah, the project board work done. Tax board. Then the dashboard, which shows the same thing the ADM had already talked about. Yeah, this is the team's ADM repository. The next one, the BA repository, the cybersecurity repository. We also had the retrospective board, which I must say we had a meeting, but it was inconclusive due to absence of a lot of members, or most of them didn't turn up. But the Scrum Masters are working towards making it a better one next time. Thank you.
Business analyst.
Rita.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rita, and I'll be representing the BA for Team Legend. Let's start, please. Right, for the context, we have the goal for the sprint, the requirement gathering, the execution, the lesson learned, and the challenges. Next slide, please. So for the goal, the goal for the sprint is authorization functionality, which led to the meeting for our requirement elicitation. We had her approval meeting with the PO. We have the refinement with the team. We committed the stories to sprint, and it was worked on by other team members. Next slide, please. For our requirement gathering, we had to work on the functionalities of the other menu, and which was working on we had to work on the product backlog to create the user story, the acceptance criteria, and the wireframe to ease the work of the developer. Next slide, please. So this is a sample of the login story that we had, And this is for the profile setting for mentor, personal detail mentor. And for the execution, we basically had to work on the PBIs, meeting with the product owner, like I said, the refinement with the team in general, and discussion on clarifying all the PBIs that we needed to develop by the team. Next slide, please. So for the lesson learned, we learned as BA that as a BA, it is a constant learning and learning process, and it is important for all the team members and the stakeholders to be carried along each step of the way. Then we also we had a training on Visual Tool, that is using it to get our process map and use the use case diagram. And we also have, next slide, please. We have the samples of the process map that we worked on and also the use case diagram. Next slide, please.
10 minutes gone.
Next slide, please. Yes, this is a sample of the use case. Next slide, please. And for the challenges, we had a time constraint. It was a bit difficult making sure all stakeholders were present at the meeting, which caused delay. Then time management and assigning work to each BAs based on the story requirement that we had. And I'll be handing over to the QA to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Emmanuel Ainde, the QA tester. Next slide, please. In this sprint 2, we were exposed to automation testing, which is the use of tools and scripts to perform a test on software applications. This has areas of benefit, which include fast test execution, reusable test scripts, improved test coverage, and early detection of bugs. Next slide, please. Now, in this sprint also, these are some of the automation testing tools that we're exposed to. We have the Java, the Maven, and IntelliJ IDE, all of which we were able to download and install, and we were able to configure them. Also, we were able to also install the plugins like the Gherkins and Cucumber for Java. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, this is please go back. Go back, please. Oh, all right. So this is the environmental variable setup for Java and Maven in Windows, where we had to go through the control panel, the environmental variables, and editing the path as appropriate to properly set it up. Next. Now, to verify if the sources of the configuration using command prompt, you enter mbn space dash version, then Java space /version, of which if this prompt come out, you are sure that you have a successful configuration. Next slide.
5 minutes to go.
Okay, so to verify the sources of the configuration, you can use that command. Then for the IntelliJ, this is the interface. So now, next is the sprint 2 stories that we were able to work on, out of which 4 was passed. It got to UAT done, and we have others in QA, and we have 6 which are available for thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. My name is Albert, and I'm representing for the DA. Okay, so for the sake of this, our new sprint, we had the data to present, to visualize profit, sales, and moving average for an organization. And now this is the dashboard showing executive summary of what the profit, the percentage, and everything, what it looks like. And the next screenshot is showing the Biodo, please calm down. It's showing what the project with the the top 10 project, and the arrow is showing a parameter that can help us increase the numbers of products that we want to see. Next slide, please. So this next slide is showing us the average sales, and the blue color is actually the sales. The yellow is the moving average. So the average just shows up what the annual sales of this organization has looked like in time past. Next slide, please. Okay, and that is a parameter also. Next slide. So this next slide is we now further decided to do an average profits and quantity and discount moving average, just to show what it looks like. And like I mentioned earlier, these arrows are just pointing to the average, the profits and the moving average, to show the trend of the moving average of those profits, quantity, and discount. Next slide, please. So that is that for Tableau. And now Microsoft Power BI. This is we wanted to get data. Bjorn, please press next. We wanted to get data from SQL database. So these arrows are pointing to how we got the data. Please hold on. Then when we got the data, this is next slide. When we got the data, the data query visualization pane is where we transform our data. Press next for the arrows to show where we transform our data to show what the data look like, to show if the data are complete, the ones that are missing, the ones that are not missing, and then going forward, yes, this is just to show, go for it. This is just to show what the data look like, and for us to transform the data. After then we move it into the visualization pane to visualize. Next slide, please. So then on SQL, like I mentioned, we want to give it a query to give us answer. The first screenshot is showing us, we gave it a query to give us the data of employees, and it gave us. Press next, and when we further asked it to give us just a few data, and it gave us the few data like the telephone, date of birth, and the likes. Next slide, please. And then going forward, then we now ask it to pick a data from another table, to join it to another table from another data, and from another table, to join them together, which we call joins. So these arrows are just pointing to the key parameters in this databases. Thank you. As I hand over to Lightning.
Good evening. My name is Lightning. So concerning our project, the Mentor Stage project, we do propose the use of access log to record requests made to the web server account login pages in order to identify patterns of suspicious login attempts sometimes from the same IP and from unfamiliar locations at times. So now some of the tools we use in configuring these security postures, like Mmap for network trafficking, S3 and MySQL for data storage, log storage, and then for web application firewalls, we use Mod Security, AWS of Palo Alto. Next slide, please. So all this we do within the regulatory framework of GDPR, FCA, and PCI DSS. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So now, this is a case study which we have done. So the first one is a failed external access attempt from a firewall log entry. Second one is a failed login attempt for a Windows security event log entry. The third one is a successful login attempt from a Windows security event log. The guy finally succeeded. The fourth one is a successful attempt after logging into the network. He now logged into a file. True. So now next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So now this is another case study that we're using the Wireshark, which I actually did. So you can see in the screen, when I used the Wireshark, I successfully was able to track a malicious traffic there. So I now went to MX Toolbox, and I found that it was actually the web's destination website was actually blacklisted by 3 watchdogs. Then CrowdSec reports also marked it as an aggressive IP address, and VirusTotal also flagged it as a malware. Please, next slide, please.
Time up, time up, time up.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, I was on mute.